Okay. That was annoying. All right. Let's make sure we're back up and running here. Okay, yeah, I am back. Like, both the game and OBS crashed at the same time. I don't know if one set off the other or what happened there. Thankfully, because I got real nervous, thankfully the game does have an autosave. Because I actually got really worried because I hadn't done a manual save in a little bit. But it basically auto-saved me to the start of the most recent branching interaction, which is good. Because otherwise I might not have started the stream up again because it would have involved too much repeat stuff. Okay, good guess. Hardly. They're the biggest. Hardly. They're the biggest robotics company there is. Could spend all day at City Center without leaving their office's shadow. Yes, we're very fortunate to have them headquartered here. Saves us money on shipping, at least. These talks never last long. I'm sure they'll be back to writing checks for Noble ads by the end of the month. Even with Noble pushing those warm androids. Warm. Ugh. Might as well call them the adult line. Oh. Shit, I hadn't even thought of that. Oh, jeez. Oh, that went over my head. Good way to draw attention to it, though, in-game with a line of dialogue like that. But yeah, ew! Damn. Okay. Might see him in bigger departments or out on patrol. Not around these offices. Warm or cold, there's no such thing as an android detective. Yet. Yet? Really? You really think that'll happen? We already use ads for patrolling, securing the scene, pacifying the crowds. Doesn't seem like that big a stretch to me. You're joking, right? Android detectives. With all the pain we go through getting witnesses to talk to us, with your warm personality, I can't imagine. Cop knocks on your door, starts asking questions, you're gonna be put in a bad mood. An ad knocks on your door, calls you a degenerate criminal in a synthesized voice loud enough for the whole neighborhood to hear, you're gonna start posting shit that'll get you put on a list. Well, we certainly don't want that. But flesh and blood witnesses are becoming less and less common anyways. Cameras, sensors, satellites, we already got all our facts from machines. Give it a few more years, might make sense to let machines do the investigating too. The union with the police union wouldn't let that happen. She needn't have specified. It's the only real union there is anymore. Go frickin' figure. Checking my phone here, I have to say you've done a pretty admirable job keeping the details of HK's crimes a secret. Less reputable sites are doing some real journalistic acrobatics trying to piece together a story. Yeah, top 11 theories on who hurt HK was a real weighty read. It's not just journalists, though. All kinds have been emboldened. The freaks that HK's managed to bring out of the woodwork in just a few weeks. Can you blame them, though? I mean, he's a genius serial killer. Repeat offenders in general are an endangered species. He's gotten away with... We know what he's gotten away with. Take a look around us, detective. National DNA registries were robust enough that cases never go cold. Cameras on every street, phone on every citizen. Violent crime is at an all-time low and clearance rates at all-time highs. But you're going to spout some alt-pole bullshit about invasion of privacy? No, I'm not. People are safer now than at any other time in history, detective. So when someone like Heartbreak does come along... Good point. London's trying to look like he can laugh it off, but pressure from the higher-ups must be reaching its peak. They want, maybe need, to see someone charged, and that makes them predictable. Yeah, well, even if there's nothing standard about HK, Department SOP still dictates we starve the media for case details. That way, when we do feed them, they're grateful for whatever scraps they get. But we can't take all the credit this time around. Homicide's tight-knit and tight-lipped, but it's not like there's much information for us to leak in the first place. And why is that? Because none of the shootings were caught on the opt-in crime surveillance system. How is that even possible? I know there are some rough areas in the lower wards, but Optics is watching every other street in the entire city. You're saying you haven't seen this killer on camera once. You think we'd have let him kill 6 people if we did? I understand your concern, ma'am, but Optics is only what it says in the name. Private surveillance systems signing up to feed into the state security network. It's not perfect, just another one of the many public safety tools in our belt. It's not meant to be perfect, it's meant to help us solve crimes, or at least act as a deterrent. One would hope so. Fat chance deterrents are for war rooms and board meetings. Again, I'm liking her perspective. They're doing a decent job of both presenting like the cop and the state's perspective, but also undercutting it with her without being too heavy-handed about it. Anyone crazy or desperate enough to commit a crime in a city like this couldn't care less about anything as vague as the consequences of their actions. Bullseye! That's why deterrence never work. That's why punishment as a deterrent to criminal action is a stupid idea. Because people don't commit crimes usually with the idea that they're going to get caught. Because either they're acting out of a highly emotional state in which they're not thinking about the consequences at all, or they think they're clever enough to not get caught. That's why punishment as deterrent does not work. It's like a safety blanket, one with very few holes left in it. But it does have holes. Patching up those remaining holes takes effort, and that effort usually means rebooting the system. There's all kinds of technical details, digital bureaucracy involved. But the end result is that there are occasional localized blackouts. And the math used to schedule them is not impossible to predict. I see. But those windows of opportunity are small and short. Taking advantage of them requires specific knowledge. You need to be involved in law enforcement, pub data, or city planning. They'd have mentioned it if my client was a cop, and he wouldn't have needed a public defender either. His file says he's modded for heavy mass manipulation, not tech interfacing, so that just leaves city planning. So does he work construction for the city? HK's only ever struck at times and locations where optics would be down. Even with the devil's own luck, it can't possibly be coincidence. Wait, so you're saying when this woman was killed, yeah, there was a blackout from around 8 to 9 tonight. Right on schedule, so to speak. And it included the area surrounding the victim's apartment. What about DNA from the other crime scenes? Was my client a match? There's been no blood, no saliva, no suspect DNA at any of the crime scenes. No footage and no forensics. Also no motives, tampering, or witnesses. It's been like hunting a damn ghost. We didn't even have a murder weapon until now. Finally, a lucky break for the boys in blue. Scanners, cams, drones, forensics, no matter how you dress it up with tech, all detective work relies on one basic assumption. People make mistakes. But HK is the kind of monster who doesn't make mistakes. Then it's even weirder that you supposedly caught him red-handed. Only reason we even caught him tonight was because he finished what he had set out to do all along. So what was my client on the list of suspects before tonight? Weren't you listening? There was no list of suspects. We questioned some execs, a few CIs. Someone even spoke to one or two unlisted at some point. Nothing came of it. There was talk about starting on some kind of psych eval or something, but I never expected much to come of that. Oh, there's some stuff that I hadn't looked at. Hold on. Autopsy report. Oh no, I did look at that. Okay. Never mind. Yep, no, I've seen all that. Oh, okay. So I do need to like open this stuff up to have it not register as still having. Okay. So hang on. Just for my completeness brain. Yep. Okay. All right. Internet of Things. Damage. Okay. Crumbs. Small packages of data containing your own unique identifying information. Oh, interesting. Okay. Data pads, yeah. Conductive resin. Oh, okay. So that's like what the holograms. Automated dependent. Yep, the ads. Got it. Okay. All right. Feeling better about that now. I like the character design, kind of scratchy 90s manga style to me. I'm getting used to it. I like the ideas behind the character design. The art style is not super to my taste, but it's not turning me off the game. I don't know, 255. I do, if something is available on audiobook, I do try and get a hold of it relatively quickly after the commission comes through so that I'm certain I have it in case it moves. There's just not enough there to work with. In other words, the only thing they could have to link my client to those killings is the murder weapon. If I can jostle that keystone, the rest of their case should start to come loose as well. I saw the time of death was 9 p.m. on the autopsy, but do you have a timeline for the rest of the night's events? Can't trust much of what comes out of his mouth, but we've managed thanks to less biased sources. And we're pretty confident about what we've been able to piece together from their statements. So they interviewed witnesses. Sounds eerily similar to real police work. The suspect and his girlfriend were arguing loudly with one another starting around 8 p.m. Neighbors were very clear about that part, couldn't wait to tell us about the happy couple's domestic problems. Everyone in the building knew they'd been fighting for weeks. As you probably gathered from what you saw in the arcs, there was a struggle, furniture turned over, glass shattered, but things got quiet before 9 p.m., and then there's a gunshot. So his girlfriend, that seems very odd, that someone who has been meticulously taking out targets that, so far as I currently am aware, have no direct connection to him, suddenly killed someone with an incredibly direct connection to him. That all seems super weird. Yes, 255. I would probably rip it. Like, for safety. Ideally, it'll stay on YouTube because then I can, stream it from my phone, and then it basically functionally just becomes a standard audiobook. But for safety, I'd probably rip it. Scrubbers are still scrubbing, looking for audio from the area to get a timestamp, but we heard from enough concerned citizens to be pretty damn sure about the time. They did mention multiple witness statements. So if there was a gunshot in a residential area, that would make sense. Right, emergency services got a burst of calls from the block shortly after 9 p.m. No one seemed to recognize the sound for what it was, but the silence that followed was pretty universally alarming. If nobody recognized the sound for what it was, wow, murder numbers really are down. People aren't used to even hearing a gunshot. Officers arrive at the street at 9:08 p.m., establish a perimeter, enter through the front door at 9:10, and they find your client crouched over his dead girlfriend, his hand covered in her blood. Why would he stay? That doesn't make any sense. At which point they move to secure the scene and the suspect. I mean, like, it makes total sense that the police would jump all over this. This is clearly a case that was looking bad for them. The instant they get a suspect, they're gonna just leap on him, but like, none of this adds up. Sorry, did you say his hand singular? Your client's modded. Cybernetic right arm. How modded are we talking about? Registered with HAL 85 Habilis industrial grade, looks like. Says he's spec'd for dexterous manipulation of up to class 4 KPA, which means a minimum grip strength of, well, basically he could crush your neck without even gritting his teeth. Considering a career change? No, it's not that. It's just your eyes must be very sensitive for you to put the patch back on each time. And here I thought you just had a 14-year-old sense of fashion. You think a cop would cover up her dominant eye because it was fashionable? I actually thought the same thing first time we met. You what? But getting back on track, that arm of his has been in the shop for some time now. He can't work without it. Money got tight. The arguing? Yeah. When did he put his arm in for repairs? 8 days before HK's first victim was killed. Well, no chance they'll be willing to chalk up that coincidence. Your client was arrested on the scene after preliminary scan found his fingerprints on the revolver and no one else's. A revolver? What kind? The old kind. The real old kind. More specifically, Calver M54 6-chamber 10mm. Calver. How retro. You don't know the half of it. We're talking steel chamber, real gunpowder, mechanical firing pin, and no tags. No tags? How is that? Just how old are we talking here? Yeah, 24/7 location data, timestamp, trigger pulls, safeties coded to owner biometrics. For the past 3 decades, tags have made shooting crimes very unambiguous. So you're claiming my client used some kind of antique to commit these crimes. How else do you think he'd have gotten away with this 5 other times? If he tried to buy a gun legit, he'd probably fail the very first psych check. And even jailbroken pieces are only good for so long before the update withdrawal sets in. So then M54, that's model year 2054, a 30-year-old gun. Well, that sure complicates things, doesn't it? In some ways, sure. But pre-tagging firearms are rare. Gotta be less than 1,000 of them left in the whole country. Fewer still compatible bullets. The ammunition would have to be over 30 years old, too. The novelty of his weapon has kept us in the dark so far, but now that we have it in our hands, it's gonna put him away for good. True, unique weapon. Easier to trace. Archive department complained loud as hell about how deep they had to dig, but with the protocols they found, the techs were able to match the rifling marks on all 6 bullets to the gun your client was found with. Rifling marks. Bullets fired from guns that old are marked by the barrel's shape. So if all 6 bullets had the same rifling marks, we know they were all fired by the same gun. Boy, old-fashioned ballistics, baby! It's not as plug and play as tags are, but it's equally precise science, I assure you. Not sure that it is. I actually I don't know the specifics on this, but I know ballistics science has been heavily questioned in the last couple decades. Not to say that it's worthless the way, say, something like bite mark analysis is, but it's not, it's not that precise. It's ballpark. It's like having a blood type as opposed to an actual DNA comparison. It'll get you in the area, but if that's not damning enough, the spent casings from the other 5 shootings were still in the chamber without even needing to reload. The caliber your client was found with is the gun HK used to kill 6 women. No way to lawyer around that. Untagged gun, just being anywhere near a weapon like that could warrant your arrest. Being found by the police over a dead body with an untagged gun used 5 other crime scenes is just... To summarize then, you believe that my client fought verbally, then physically, with his girlfriend, and then he retrieved his weapon and shot her. Yeah, pretty much. How did he look when the officers found him? Guilty. How was his affect? Quiet, detached, stiff. Not exactly the picture of a grieving partner. Dude, there's such a thing as shock and trauma. That reaction may have lost some points with the cops, but beyond that, he will react to loss in all kinds of unusual ways. Exactly. There's no script for how to react. So long as the police are suspicious of you, there's no right way to grieve. Yes! I love her. Love her. All right. The coat the suspect was wearing was taken into custody, taken by lab techs for additional analysis, but additional tests show blood on the left sleeve matches that of the victim. Okay. Left sleeve. Is that his modified arm or not? Because prosthetic. No, that looks like the right. Both an impressive combination. Okay, so that would make sense then. Okay, so that does track. That would have been too obvious a hole anyway. Carlos Baker Flat. Okay, so that's my client's name. 99.91% certainty. Rifling marks, bullet, previous killings. Yep. No matches to any other archive forensic data as far back as 2051. That's a lot. I'll give you that. Current process scrubbing all available. Yep. Okay, that's what I figured. Mods, body modifications. Yep, figured. Calver, manufacturer of civilian firearms. Oh, they're out of business. Oh no, bought by Thortec. Okay. Noted. Once iconic. Okay. Let's do details here. How about the basics? What exactly has my client been charged with? Your client, Carlos Baker Flat, was arrested on the scene. Here's one thing that I will say. The fact that I can choose the things to interact with in any order does mean that it feels like it thought I was going to pick them in a certain order, and it feels like I'm getting certain details that it either thinks I already know the meaning, or like after I've already learned it, it's treating like it's new. That's like my one slightly off thing. It's not a major issue, but I am noticing that. Using his middle name already, they really do think he's a serial killer. Nice touch. Charged being first-degree murder of his girlfriend, a Ms. Diane Dawn. First-degree murder? That's interesting, considering it was followed by a fight. That would usually be second-degree or manslaughter. Because first-degree is premeditated. Okay. First-degree, that's increasingly rare. Yeah, that's kind of... that part wasn't my point, but otherwise, to say the least. It's rare for us to get hit on anything but crimes of passion around here. Like, look, I get that if you're going to charge him with the other 5, those would probably be first degree. But the one for the girlfriend, I would say crime of passion sounds more on point. City's got damn near more cameras than people, so you gotta be really, really stupid to try and get away with murder. Well, Heartbreak's gotten away with it 6 times. So what's that make him? 5 times, and that makes him insane. I was gonna go with extraordinary. Let's split the difference, say he's extraordinarily insane. But nut jobs like that aren't renowned for their ability to think ahead, so it makes you think it was premeditated. How about the fact he stalked and killed 5 other women as a warm-up? Oh, all the other victims were women. Oh, interesting. There's an episode of 99% Invisible about scientists trying and failing to develop a weapon that could actually knock people out without having other health effects. Turns out it's basically impossible. Yeah. Something I like in sci-fi settings is people still use projectile guns because I suspect that's never actually going away. Yep, makes total sense to me. Hell, even Babylon 5 had a old-fashioned revolver at some point. Like, drew attention to that fact and everything. A warm-up, 5 previous bullets, 5 previous victims. None of them knew each other, lived near each other, worked in the same fields. Weeks of digital autopsies, crawling up and down their online profiles, nothing. So this serial killer chose his victims at random if they have nothing in common. Yeah, nothing in common at all, other than they all look like cousins. What? The physical similarities are striking. Oh, somebody's got a type. All 5 prior victims were young women, brown hair and eyes, about the same height, comparable weights. While those features aren't exactly uncommon, couldn't it be a coincidence? If you really believe that, you should quit your job and start buying lotto tickets. HK's got himself a type. Anyone can see that. Very, son of Sam. You really gonna try and tell me you don't see the resemblance? A young woman, brown hair, brown eyes. Can't tell how tall she is from the portrait, but I can take the hint. So you think what, exactly? That Carlos Flat wanted to kill his girlfriend so badly, he went out and shot 5 other women first? Hey, if the shoe fits. If the shoe fits, then you put the shoe on the... What Sunshine means is that it's not uncommon for killers to displace their violence from people close onto them, onto outlets with fewer consequences. Drifters, loners, strangers, workers. Nice to see it listed as workers instead of hookers for once. He was probably building up the nerve for tonight when first practicing on these other similar women. Or he's just so far gone that he can't tell the difference anymore. It's not the worst theory in the world, but it doesn't fit. They want to claim that those previous victims were practice runs, dress rehearsals for tonight's event, but if that were the case, there'd have been signs of hesitation, nerves, there'd have been mistakes. On top of which, guns are impersonal. Execution shots, even more so. There's no sadism, or hatred, or intimacy in a single bullet to the heart. Killing your girlfriend or her lookalikes usually is, if nothing else, a lot less sterile, if you ask me. Thanks for the chat, detectives. I think I understand the background well enough now. Okay. All right. All right, so I actually have information on him now. Ah, nice that they have him listed separate from Heartbreak. Evidence. Yeah, victim. 27 years old, Diane Dawn. All right. I believe trying to assign profiles to serial killers, i.e., this killer always kills in this way, also isn't a real thing you can rely on. No, it's one of those things that like has stuck around in fiction because it makes for really good storytelling, but has been, I don't want to say completely debunked, but is definitely not an exact science. It's one of the many things, like lots of areas of police work, that I'm not going to go so far as to say it's useless, but its practical application is limited. And it definitely shouldn't be your primary thing that you lean on, because like, how do I want to put this? If you're dealing with like a killer that you're having a hard time figuring out how they function at all, having somebody try and come up with a profile so that you can try and extrapolate from that what else they might have done or what they might do next, that's better than nothing. But that is kind of what profiling is at this point. It's, if you literally have nothing, okay, I guess, but like it's not something you want to lean heavily on. Like that's, and again, that's honestly true of most areas of both policing and a lot of forensics, to be honest. Like I mentioned, bite mark analysis, which is basically completely debunked at this point. Again, it wasn't a bad idea, but it didn't pan out to be very reliable. But again, like one of the things that's really frustrating about our media is so much of this stuff remains in pop culture and in the minds of the public because our fiction continues to treat it like it works when it doesn't, which is, you know, there's a whole conversation, and I don't feel like having it, but there's a whole conversation to be had about to what degree storytellers, TV show runners, filmmakers, novel writers, etc., have to being more accurate about how well these things actually work when it has the potential to shape real world understanding of these things, because most people will not actually have a conversation with a real forensic scientist, but they'll read a ton of crime fiction. It's sort of, I'm going to call it the Jack Bauer problem. I don't know if it's still the case, but I know for a while it was pretty trackable how many Americans thought that torture was an effective interrogation method, basically because it worked on 24. And like, there's a lot of harm that comes from that. Now, again, how you deal with that, like to the degree of being like saying, you know, that writers or storytellers can't do this or say that, I'm always hesitant to go in a censorship direction, but I would say certainly morally there should be a responsibility to accuracy. Otherwise you twist the public's understanding of how much this stuff is worth doing and works. CSI is also junk science. A lot of it, yeah, for sure. Thanks for the chat. Yep, yeah, I did that. Candidly, I see the same strokes you do, and the picture it paints isn't pleasant. But even so, it seems a bit unrefined to be brought before a judge, don't you think? Hey, it's only our job to catch the bastard. The DA is the one who gets the conviction. Fair point, actually. Besides, we're not exactly going to have to work hard to convince anyone of his guilt. And why is that? Because we found a handwritten confession at his desk. Why would he do that? Well, that's unexpected. I'm sorry, you're now telling me that he wrote a confession. Has it been verified? Not yet. We have to muscle past everyone in fraud and disinfo to get to the front of that line. Why bother? Notes covered in his fingerprints. There's a copy in the discovery data, but I should warn you, it doesn't exactly make for light reading. I'll have to manage somehow. I need to see this confession for myself. All right. Oh, good. It's not that long. Sorry for everything. Can't say it enough. Didn't mean to hurt you or do what I did. Did not want any of it to happen. Can't stay in control when I get mad. When I'm not in control, I hurt people without meaning to. Okay, there's a big contradiction right there. If he's out of control, yet at the same time, his killings require a high amount of precision and and, self-control in order to execute and not get caught. There's a big disconnect right there. Wish I hadn't broken them. Didn't mean to at first, but I was hurting. Wanted you to hurt too, but didn't want to hurt you. Words aren't enough. I know that now. I'll take responsibility and do what I've been avoiding. Please forgive me. Also, this isn't really a confession. It doesn't say what it is he did. Like, this could have been about almost anything. That was difficult to read. Barely legible, in fact. Well, got a spin on that? No need. But it's a confession. Not a confession that he signed, though, is it? Not yet. And not one he intends to sign anytime soon, considering he asked for representation. Yeah, the most wanted man in the city asked for a lawyer and got you. Guess we're both lucky. Hardly. I just happened to be awake when the call went out. I'm not so flush with work that I can afford to turn tail now. So if you don't mind, I'm going to go and speak with my client. What? He's not still handcuffed in there, is he? Look, counselor, with all due respect, we have strong evidence pointing to that man being responsible for 6 murders. 2 hours or so in cuffs isn't cruel or unusual, and that's for your safety as well. It's kind of you to worry, but I doubt I'll be in any danger. He's killed 6 women, yet with a gun he no longer has. That's assuming he even did it. None of them were redheads! Oh, Morgan, I love you. Seriously, though, I'd like to speak with him alone. Now. Camera's off, if you don't mind. Mic's on or off is your call, counselor, but we'll be watching the feed from right outside in case anything happens. And the cuff, that is, stays on. That worried about me. How chivalrous. Yeah, my armor's practically blinding. Gross. I'll start up the unlock cycle. Counselor, just one last word of advice. If you have any interest in his well-being, I suggest you help him sign that confession. Don't strong-arm me, detective. Not a bad idea. I do get paid either way. But the defense part of defense attorney isn't just for show, detective. I mean it. 6 people dead is one thing, but he's also caused weeks of widespread terror and public unrest. Putting it another way, he's made the state look bad. That's a capital crime, if there ever was one. And even if the death penalty's not actually on the table these days, interesting! Huh, that's interesting that we have a police surveillance state, but not a death penalty. Ah, that's really interesting as world building, actually. It almost makes you wonder if that's like about optics, like the state trying to soften its image. I can guarantee he's not going to like whatever rehabilitation plan they draw up for him. Look, I've seen the virtual work release program in person, and it's being challenged before the Supreme Court. Yeah, sometime in the next decade, maybe. Just remember, a plea deal might feel like a loss for you, but if it keeps him from, well, that's probably a win for your client, right? Prison sentences are generally lighter for those who plead guilty. That much is true. Saves the courts a great deal of time and money. They show their gratitude with reduced sentencing. But no one will ever be grateful towards the heartbreak killer. I was going to say, if he's already made the state look bad, why would they be lenient? Anyone convicted for killing 6 people, they'll never rest their mind another day in their life. Okay, so we are going to save there and stop. Sorry that this ended up being 2 separate streams because of the crash. But yeah, Sometimes wonder if Jack Bauer's effects bothers Kiefer Sutherland because he's actually relatively progressive politics, like he supports the furthest left of Canada's three parties. I don't know, 255. I don't know if he's ever spoken on that. But this is off to a real good start. I love the character. The world building's pretty solid. We'll see how it sticks the landing on the case, but so far it's doing a pretty good job at constructing the the case and the mystery that everything is revolving around. I'm really liking this so far. Now, due to ongoing following suicide attempts, search results for this term are temporarily blocked. Interesting. Very interesting. So I'm going to be playing this Wednesday next week. There isn't going to be a Friday stream next week. I've got other stuff going on. So this, like I said, this is off to a real good start. I'm digging the hell out of this right now. But we'll be back on Wednesday for more of this. And yeah, so tomorrow, new video on the main channel. This one on Heated Rivalry, a show that I hadn't planned to watch and then kind of got nudged into by a lot of people and ended up really, really, really loving. So I just gush for about 40 minutes about that. That's tomorrow's video, currently in early access for YouTube members of the main channel and Patreon supporters. Which means that what was originally going to be Saturday's video, which is about the lingering harm done by 50 Shades of Grey, and sort of a larger conversation around potential damage from media, that is being moved to next Saturday for when that one will go public. That one is also already in early access. So we'll be back to playing more of this next week. It's off to a great start. I hope everybody takes care. Be well, be safe, and be kind. I'll see you.